to the green room as we round off today. Thank you so much for bearing with us throughout today, and we've really appreciated your comments in the chat. As you all have been aware throughout the day, this is our first hybrid event, and this is the first time that we've tried to do anything like this, so thank you for bearing with us with all of the technical glitches and slight delays in different timings, and yeah, just thank you for your wonderful comments. Conway Hall is now being left, and I am being joined by our new chair, Paul Dryburgh. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Megan.
And you've been out on the floor today. How's it been?
It's been, what's the word, bustling, shall we say. It's been a good atmosphere, I think, actually. Lots of people from around the country, including our brilliant award winners.
Absolutely.
It's been great to meet them.
And we should say as well, we've got Sophie Poor in the chat, who is one of our local history photography of the
Hello,
year.
Sophie. Well done. Congratulations.
She was one of our under 18 runners-up for the local history photographer of the year competition. She's come back from the birthday party. So hello, Sophie, and well done.
Armed with cake, hopefully.
Hopefully. And again, congratulations to all our winners more generally. Without you, local history awards wouldn't happen, and we look forward to seeing our winners next year. In answer to some of the questions, we will be saving the recordings on our website over the next week or so, and you will have access to those slides through that recording. So make sure to keep an eye out for those. Now, Paul, you have been an acting chair for BALH for the last 9 months or so.
9 months, yeah.
How does it feel to be chair now?
More responsibility. The burden of responsibility is now real for the next 3 years. So the good news is that obviously we now got 2 vice chairs. We've got the amazing digital team, lots of really good committee members and other trustees. So hopefully the progress I think we've made, or not progress, but the developments that have happened during lockdown and into this year will continue, and will hopefully be bringing new exciting content and local history to bigger and better audiences.
Definitely, and hopefully we can see so many people saying that was amazing, so hopefully we can do something like this next year. And as you mentioned, we've got 2 vice chairs now, so we've got Jane Golding and Joe Saunders both being our vice chairs, and I'm so excited to see the type of things that they bring. They're both very dynamic, aren't
Indeed. That's why I asked them if they do it. So.
Definitely. So what's been your favourite part of today?
Favourite part of today? Well, obviously I know Mark Forrest for a long time. So, and for me, as a medievalist, learning about post-medieval manorial records, and also being an archivist, that means I now have a bit more guidance on where to look. Which is not to say that any of the rest of the day wasn't, but for me, that's where I've probably personally taken most interest.
Definitely, and I think everyone on the online audience saw my fangirl moment with Yelena.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to seeing that later.
So apologies for that there, but I was very, very excited. I've been watching Yelena's documentaries since I was a child,
we all have.
It's been incredible to meet some of our idols and to see some real powerhouses in that local history world, and also to see them online. So what do you think is next in terms of BALH? Big question, I know.
Well, I'd like to think, we were just talking to quite a few people who represent local history societies, and we were hearing some stories of, quite localized woe, because COVID has brought some societies to an end. We know that the age profile of lots of local history society, active local historians in these societies is quite old. We need to see if we can try and bring more people together, perhaps advocate more for local history across the country, and hopefully, the online skills webinars that we bring, we'll try and empower the next generation and the current generation of local historians. Whether you're a professional historian, whether you're just interested, whether you are learning it at school, bring you the tools that you need to bring local history in your community outside of that.
Absolutely, and I think as well we should really highlight the amazing thing, certainly since I joined BALH at the start of the academic year. So we've had, the schools fellowship that we've done with the Historical Association, where we've had lots of different educational educators across the country coming in and learning both primary and secondary curriculums how to get involved in local history. We've got lots of exciting content coming up, lots of local history hours, lots of podcasts, blogs, all of these sorts of things. And I know that Chris and Katie have been in the chat talking about that.
I'm looking forward to the podcast because I know you've got them all ready, or most of them ready. So
they are all ready. They're just going to be coming out you know, as time goes on. So do keep an eye out for those, and I will give a plug to where you can find out a bit more there. But in terms of today, obviously Conway Hall's been absolutely thriving with local historians, and I imagine we're going to see lots of local history research coming out as a result of that.
Hopefully, as I say, I think there's been a lot of decent chat between colleagues across different parts of the country, but also, as I said, we've just heard from Yanina, the power of kind of history to change people's lives for the better. And actually, when it's local history and it's local people, local communities, families, you know, migrant communities, whatever it might be, hopefully, you know, we'll be hearing new stories as the years progress.
Definitely, and I think that's a key point. And for those of you, if you haven't seen on Twitter, my lovely colleague Catherine, who we chatted to earlier, actually shared a quote from Yanina at the start of her talk, which, just in case you missed, she was saying, "So local historians, you've been doing the thing that all historians should have been doing, but for decades." And I think that's a really good point. You know, people forget how important local historians are in local history. So it's been so lovely to be a small part in that bigger community, isn't it?
Absolutely, oh yeah. We're all small parts, but you can't get to a bigger whole without small parts.
Definitely. And again, you know, this is just the start of some of the things that we're hoping to achieve at BALH with different types of content. And of course, I should also highlight, I forgot to mention at the start, Sophie is just 11 and she was a photography competition winner. So she photographs way better than some of my camera work. So really well done there again, Sophie. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the theme there for next year with Local History Photographer of the Year, which will be launched within the next month or so. Quite exciting.
Exactly. Do apply. Do send us your photographs of anywhere. It's anywhere, anything with a local history theme. We'd love to see them.
Definitely, and the same with general content as well. So as I've said throughout today, we have a blog that you can access. We have 10-minute talks with slightly shorter presentations, or if you want to do something slightly longer, like Mark and Yanina have done today, we have local history hour and webinars as well. And we actually have one from your other hat, which is working at the National Archives. We have a National Archives event coming up, haven't we?
We do. Are we talking about the census again?
Yes, yeah.
Indeed. So my colleague Jessamy Carlson, who is, I think, she's a modern family history specialist, but she's going to be delivering the second of her webinars, repeat kind of, but a more updated version on the 1921 census, which is the big resource for local and family history that's emerged in, well, certainly in England and Wales in the last year.
That's going to be so exciting. I'm looking forward to that as well. And then in terms of our vice chairs, I'm sure that they've got projects coming up. Are there any that we can think of that you hope to share?
Well, I'm hoping. So Joe Saunders is currently working with another group of our trustees towards planning and delivering a Northern Conference, Northern England, hoping to stimulate and share the latest research relating to what we might call the North. How we're drawing that up is not quite clear, because obviously I think I'm a Northerner. Anybody from Yorkshire would think, you're a Southerner.
Yeah, I'm exactly
being a Midlander, we're both Midlands.
We are. So for context, Paul grew up in Lincolnshire and I now live in Nottinghamshire. But I grew up in Kent, so anything north of Watford was the north for me. So
we're in nosebleed territory, aren't we?
And Catherine, who's just off camera here, is from Yorkshire, and she's just shaking her head at me and going, "That's not the north at all."
I was going to say, Lincoln's not the north either for her.
No, but yeah, it's been so incredible to see so much diversity here today in terms of the talks. And thank you again for all of your comments and questions in the chat. There's been some really fascinating discussions happening both in the hall and online as well.
I've missed all those, so I'm looking forward to reading the transcript later.
Yes, and again, these will be saved on our website very, very soon with those live recordings and things like that. So just to kind of recap through the day, and I know that Paul, you've had a slightly different experience with doing both the AGM and the Local History Awards. So we've started off today with a welcome by Professor Caroline Barron, who is our president, and she introduced her former PhD student, Dr. Mark Forrest, who was talking about post-medieval manorial records, which was Paul's favourite part of the day, if you missed that. We then moved into both on different platforms. We did both YouTube and in here on Zoom, talking about the AGM, so the annual general meeting where Paul was made chair officially and now has 2 vice chairs. What a relief. And then we also had a chat with Mark where we learned a bit more about his research and how manorial records can kind of transverse through those time periods. Then we had the award ceremony, so Local History Photographer of the Year, as well as the Local History Awards. And then we also had a special tribute to the wonderful Dr. Jill Draper, who sadly is retiring today, not today, but this year. And so she has been fundamental to BALH over the last 20 or so years.
Well, I think so, yeah.
As you can tell, we've not quite worked out how long she's been here, but it's a very long time.
Jill will tell us.
Jill will tell us probably. But just to round off this session, thank you so much for joining us today and for bearing with us as we did our first hybrid event here, and for keeping up with all of the different switches from YouTube and Zoom, and all of the different conversations that we had. Without you and your questions, we wouldn't have been able to make it what it is today. So thank you, and thank you for bearing with us. Also, particular shout outs to Dan and his team here at Conway Hall for making sure that we can see everyone, both virtually and in person, and you're able to see Yanina and Mark's wonderful slides there. Thank you to Katie and Chris from our outreach team for keeping track of the comments and all of the things that are going on behind the scenes in the chat there. Thank you, of course, to Paul, our digital manager, who is behind the camera here and is absolutely fundamental to the day, and to Diane, who kept the most important job going.
Legend.
She kept us going with cups of tea and food throughout the day, so very important job. Thank you to Catherine and Marek for being our roving reporters. Thank you to Pam as well for live tweeting those two sessions. Again, we are a very small team, but we strive for success. And of course, to Paul and our trustee team who are out there in the audience, making sure things are running smoothly. Thank you to both Dr. Mark Forrest and Dr. Yanina Ramirez for both of their talks today. And thank you to yourselves for being here. Make sure to follow us on social media and let us know what your favourite part of the day was. And make sure to keep up to date with all of the things that we do by going to www.balh.org.uk and particularly /events to learn more about some of the things that we're getting up to. My name's Megan Kelleher. I'm the social media fellow for the BALH. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope you all have a lovely evening.